Hello my dear friends, good morning to all of you. In the last video lecture session, we discussed about the unit number 7, part 1 is the functions of management, right? And we divide these functions of management into two video lecture session. And after this, there are the unit number 7, part 2 is the organizational structure, and I divide this organizational structure into two video lecture. So this is the first video lecture regarding the organizational structure, and the second video lecture will comes in the next lecture. Okay, so let's start that first part regarding the unit number 2a is the organizational structure. So first of all, introduction to organizational structure. What is the meaning of that and how it's applicable in the organization? So an organization is a stake of forms of the is to be a one type of pyramid structure. So it's established a formal interpersonal relation among the organizational member as a superior, as a subordinate, as a peer group. So it's an activity and the authority structure in the terms of relative importance and the higher, middle and the lower level. We have to discuss there are the three levels in the organization, and the organizational structure is important for the activity and the authority structure. So there are the authorized to use these various resources as per the prescribed plan and policies as prescribed by the creator or the organizations or the promoters. So the promoters are create a pyramid organizational structure with the relative authorities and responsibility. According to the authority and responsibility, this type of organizational structures are created. So first of all, the meaning and the characteristics of the organizational structure. Definition of this organizational structure. First definition, the organizational structure is prescribed as the systematical structure relationship among the organizational member. So it's called as the organizational structure. In the structure, they have to given the higher authority, lower authority and the peer group. You can identify that which authority is the higher from you, which authority with the parallel to you and which authority is the lower than you. So the organizational structure is a pyramid setup is showing the various position in the terms of their relative performance. According to the performance, they have to decide the organizational structure. What are the characteristics of this organizational structure? First one, an organizational structure is to indicate relatively importance of the various position. Which position is higher than which position and what are the importance of this position in the organization? You can identify through the organizational structure. First, the position are structure that to be a meaning to is done through the staffing. First one, they have to decide the position according to the staffing function. That superior is a higher than the subordinate, then subordinate is to be a one type of lesser authority than the superior. So you can identify through this structure. The organizational structure is a pyramid with a few position at the top and the more at the base. So according to the pyramid, you have to decide your position in the organization. Fourth one, the shape of the organization structure is based on the scalar, link and the span of control. The scalar link are more with the less span of control. So the structure with be a tall and if other way is round and structure will be a flat. Means if in the organization there are the span of control, you can learn this topic in the next video lecture session. There's the span of control means what, but in the simple manner you say that if in the superior authority is higher and they have to be doing the direction and the leadership of the higher employees, or we can say the high employees, and they have to be a number of employees are higher at that time, they have to be required the higher span of control. Okay, there are different dimensions of the organizational structure. The basis of structuring, there are the line type, line and staff type, metric type organization. So this line type, line and staff and matrix type organizational structure you should learn in detail in the next slides, and you have to draw the diagrams regarding this and you have to write in detail regarding these structures. So the interpersonal relationship among the person in the organization, there are the superior, subordinated and peer group. In the organization you have to develop the structure, and according to structure you have to decide your superior, what are the superior positions, what are the your subordinate position, and what are your peer group positions. So the pyramid structure is a divide into the three level as per the relative importance of the job: top, middle, bottom as under. Okay, so let's see. So according to that you have to decide your position in the organization. Like in the last video lecture session we have to decide the one pyramid. In the one pyramid, top authority, bottom, middle and bottom. Okay, so top authority, there are the higher authorities. Middle, they have to consider your, we can say, managers, departmental heads, right? And the bottom level has to consider your subordinates. Okay, so this all about the positions you have to identify in the organization. Then what are the principles of the organization? So this question is asked in GTU examination in winter 2040 and 60. So some important organizational principles. First one, principle of unity of objective. Whenever you are working in the organization, then your first principle is the unity of the objective. Your objective is to be a unit. Unit means what? Your objective must be same. Okay. All person do the activities is separately as per the sectional and departmental task and specification, but such operation as isolation is basically linked with the common objective. If you are working in purchase department, then your main objective is to be get the purchase of the raw material at the lowest cost. Then if you are working in the sales department, then your main objective is to selling the higher and the qualitative products to the customer. But main same objective of the all over these two department is to achieve the organizational goal. Okay. Then principle of unity of command. In the last Fayol's 14 principles, you have to learn this type of these two principles, unity of command and unity of direction, right? So unity of command, the principle of unity of command is related to the authority of the superior over the limited number of subordinate, always given the command in the same manner. If there are the two or more persons that given the command to the subordinates, is create the misunderstanding and misleading to the organization. So always create the unity of the command. This principle is facilitate the discipline and the obedience into the superior. So if you have to doing this type of unity of command, then in your organization discipline is created, then always you have to obey, you have to follow whatever direction and given by the supplier. Third one, principle of span of control. The principle of span of control is refers to the limited number of subordinate and accountable to only one superior. So the span of control may be large from 8 to 10 subordinate or small to 2 to 3 subordinate and will be result into the flat and tall organization structure. If we can say superior have to taken the responsibility of 8 to 10 subordinates, so it's called the tall organizational structure. And if one we can say higher authority and the one superior only have to take the responsibility of 2 or 3 subordinate, then there are the flat, we can say, or span of control. So if there are the number of we can say employees are increased and subordinate are increased under the one superior, then it's create the tall organizational structure, span of control. Then principle of scalar chain. The principle of scalar chain is refers to the unbroken flow of authority linked from the top bottom level management. So it's inversely related to the span of control. So smaller span of control is increased to link, and conversely we can say that larger span of control is decreased the link. Moreover, longer link is to be hampers the speed of the communication and the morale of the employee. So always a scalar chain is created the flow of the command. Means what? Here I draw this so you can easily understand this. From the higher authority to lower authority, they have to given the command. Okay. And from the lower to higher, they have to be given the report. So it's all about that always flow of information is created from top to down and down to up. Means top to bottom level and bottom to higher level. So it's always continuous process, so it's called the scalar chain. If there are the highly, we can say, span of control, means there are the number of employees higher under the one superior, at that time this is create the difficult and complex situation. And if there are the normally, we can say, one or two subordinates and flat, we can say, control, so at that time they have to describe the less span of control. Fifth one, principles of delegation of authority. Always authority and responsibility you have to given in the same manner. So the authority refers to the right to decide about the giving order and the use the allocation of resources. So authority is the originate at the top who have to own the organization. For the effective performance at the lower level is enabling them to take the quick spot decision. The authority are delegated to the lower level manager, as the authority is to be a percolate downwards and it's become a thinner and thinner. So no person can delegate a more authority than he to be a possess. So similarly, no person can the delegate can complete the authority. So always delegation of authority is given by the top level management to the middle level management. Okay, so top level have to given the authority to lower level, means manager have to given the responsibility, and the delegation of authority means what, means you have to power to take the decision, right? So this power and this authority are always given by the higher authority to the lower authorities. Then sixth one is the principles of equality and the authority and the responsibility. Always authority and responsibility are in the equitable manner, in the same manner. Not authority is higher than the responsibility and the responsibility is higher than the authority. If both are not in the same manner, is create the disaster for the organization. Okay, so always both are in the equitable manner. So every authority is linked with the parallel responsibility. So any imbalance between the two creates is following situation. First one, more authority with the little or the no responsibility. So the superior become to be a carefree and autocratic and managing to be affairs and activity. If you have to given the authority higher and you cannot given the responsibility, so at that time they have to take that autocratic situation, so they all free, they cannot have to any responsibility, so they can take the easily decision, they cannot have to we can say care about, they have to be carefree, they have to be a careless free their environment. So you have to given the right authority and the right responsibility in the same manner. Then less authority or more responsibility. If you given the less authority and the higher responsibility, so the subordinate are working under the uncertain and the tension environment. Moreover, it's result into the exploitation, dissatisfaction among the subordinates, because you have to given the higher responsibility and not given the any authority to them, so they have to feel stress, they have to feel the tension, and they have to not working according to their efficiency and knowledge. So you always try to give the right manner in the equitable situation, you have to given the authority and the responsibility. Then seventh one is the principles of the absolute and the responsibility. Responsibility is refers to the commitment of the person to whom responsibility is assigned. So responsibility holder cannot pass it to his subordinates. So you have to define that Mr. A have to working as a manager as a purchase department. So Mr. A have the responsibility to take the overall charge regarding the purchase department. Then after, principles of the subordinate of the lower goals and the higher goals. So the lower level principle have to people have always give the importance to the higher level goals. Thus they have to be a sacrifice their lower level goals in favor of the attain the higher level goals. So you have to decide this. Then principles of departmentation. So the department is divide the whole organization into the small section like the separate company, branch, division, product. So you can divide your department, you can divide your organization in the departments. They are treated as the responsibility center like the profit center, income center, cost center, and the investment sector, right? So if in the production department, so it's an investment sector, you have to invest your money in the different machineries and raw materials, right? Then the principle of centralization. Principle of centralization is concerned with the absence of the delegation of authority. When the owners have to no confidence in the capability of the lower staff, then they have to keep the entire authority in their hand, because manager cannot cannot sure that our employees are capable to take this type of responsibility. At that time, all the authorities and responsibility is centralized on with the only one person. Then principles of stability. The principle of stability is refers to the consistency in the structure, policies and the procedure. So the policies and the procedures are formed under the long term and the consideration in the generally no changes are made to be a frequent, means you have to not doing the frequently change in your organization structure. So you have to take the stability, because if you are doing the continuously change in your organization structure, so it's create the complexity for the new employees, and it sometimes created the complexity for your, we can say, that former employees. Then principles of the flexibility. The economical environment is the internal as well as the external. So it's dynamic in the modern competitive world. You have to the principle of flexibility. It refers to the need to be a change. Means you cannot follow the one structure. You cannot do we can say that doing the rigidity. You cannot doing the rigidity in your organization structure. Your organization structure should be flexible, because in a new market, new structure, you have to doing the flexibility. Without flexibility, you cannot stable in your organization in the competitive market. Then after, what are the factors affecting the centralization? So this question is asked in GTU examination winter 2014. So the concept of the centralization has to refers the absence of delegation of authority. So all the authority always possessed by the higher top authorities. So it's called the centralization. So the authority is to be vested the owner, thus is the origin of the top management. So its flow is a downward and the middle level and the bottom level manager as per the need of the management. So the decision whether is to be a delegate or not to delegate authority is depend on the following factor. First factor is the traditional management philosophy with the options of the delegation of authority. Here there are the absence of the delegation of authority. They cannot consider the delegation of authority. All the authority have to possess by only higher authorities. Second one, when the top management is expect the higher degree of the to be a precision and the responsibility, at that time they cannot doing the delegation of authority. They have to centralize their authority with them. Third one, when the top management does not wish to transfer the trade secret to the other firm, at that time they have to doing the centralization. Fourth one, when the top management have to no faith in the subordinate staff, they have to not any faith that subordinate can doing the right work, at that time they have to centralize their authority. Then when the top management does not part with the core competence, means they cannot have to do new innovation, they cannot have to part in the core competence. Then it repetitive decision centralization is desirable if in the repetitive decision, in the non-repetitive, in the emergency under the changing environment, decentralization of authority become essential. If you have to take on the repetitive decision, at that time you have to select the centralization, because this decision is always taken by the higher authority, then the higher authority always take their decision. Nature of the leadership style be followed. So under the autocratic leadership style, they have to doing the centralization. It follow under the laissez-faire, and the decentralization is to be advisable. In the interdependent operations and the necessary decentralization and the cooperative efforts for the coordination. For the diplomatic relationship and the outside spokesmanship and centralization is desired, means any person cannot reveal their secret with their other firm, that's why they have to doing this type of centralization in the organization. Then after, what is the formal and informal organization? So first one is the formal organization. The group of activities with the common goal and the structure formally pyramidal manner. So formal interpersonal relation as the superior, subordinate and the peer group is to be despite in the formal structure. as decided by the top level management. The authority, responsibility, and the accountability of the organization member toward the organization and the superior are established as per the position created in the formal structure. Here is a one example is given to you, that Mr. X is a superior, has the four subordinate like A, B, C, D. Then Mr. X has the formal authority to accept the subordinates from the subordinate, and ABCD is similarly to the four subordinate accountable for their work assigned and duty whatever assigned by the Mr. X. So Mr. X has the formal power to given the order, instruction, and for to this four person ABCD. Then informal organization. On the other, informal organization is a spontaneous creation which have to be generated automatically based on the some common characteristic like caste, like region, religion, some other form like mental matching. The relation among the informal network is not restricted by the formal authority. Like here one example is given to you, that Mr. A of the production department can have the relation with Mr. G of the marketing department and Mr. R of the finance department. It's shown is one figure here. Here is a formal, first one is given to you, that formal staff, that chief executive authority have the higher power than production department, marketing department, finance department, and human resource department. In the production department, ABCDR work, then here EFGH, IJKL, MNOP. And ABCD, there are the relation between the A and B is a formal relation, but A have the relation with the marketing department as well as the finance department, so it's called as the informal department, because this we can say this relation is not created by organization. They have to build their relation with their own mental match. Okay. Then after, there are the difference between the formal and informal organization. First one is the status of existence. Official creation with the top management sanction sits of called the formal organization, whatever they have to build. Then unofficial creation with the group member is called the informal group. Second one is a primary focus. Position is the organizational chart. According to that, they have to given the position. Then personal competence and appreciated by the group members. So it's called the informal organization. Third one is the sources of power. Formal authority is delegated by the management. Then here personal power and the diplomatic relation they have to create it. Then nature of control. Rules and regulation is formed by the top management. Here norms and custom is accepted by the group as per the group sanction. Then behavior regulation. Fear, penalty, punishment is caused by the violation is a result with the superior control. But in the informal, they have to not any control, so they have to impose the discipline and the irrespective of the supervisor. Then role of the organizational boundaries. So it is a strict check-it of the organization in the boundary that's set by the management. They have to follow this. Then in the interpersonal relation, they have to go beyond the set of boundaries, so they cannot have to take any rules and regulation they have to not follow. After this, we have to start organizational structure, that what are the type of you have to understand in the next slides. First one, there are the cooperations and coordination, formal and the deliberate. In the formal organization, all relation are formal relation. Here there are the emotional and spontaneous relation. Here leadership. As per the formal decision of the top management, they have to decide the leadership. Here they are the person trait. If any person in the group have the new type of personality and according to the personality of leadership, then they have to lead the group. Interpersonal relation, formal and the vertical as per the prescribed link and the in the pyramidal structure. Then it's a diagonal, and according to the boundaries they have to be an organizational link. 10th and the last difference is the motive behind the activity. People work as per the management guidance, that's why they have to doing this type of delegation of authority work type of structure, formal group. Then people work as per the emotional attachment, so that's why here there are the selfless motive and helping to each other, that's why they have to create this type of informal group. Then what are the factors affecting the organizational structure? First one is the size of industry. According to the size, you have to make the organizational structure. Second one is a degree of mechanism and automation. According to the automation, you have to centralize and decentralize authority. Third one, type of product being manufactured. If in your organization you have to develop more than 2 or 3 products, then your organization structure is different. Then scale of operation, like small scale, medium scale, large scale, multinational firms. So according to the region and the geographical level, you have to decide the organizational structure. Fifth one is the complexity of the operational and the scalar chain. So you can easily understand these methods in the next video lecture slides. So let's see. First one is a line structure. In your examination, they have to ask that write about the organizational structure is a line structure. So you have to write first of all introduction, what are the meaning, and then you have to draw this diagram and then after explain it. So the traditional line structure in the organization is a such a way that president means CEO, chief executive is the top level authority. They have to be a 2 directors is a VPS means vice president, and specified area is followed by the manager, and manager have to be a operational personality, and according to that they have to be a operational personnel. Okay, so there are the higher authority here. All the delegation of authorities and the responsibility given into the line by line means higher authority with the CEO, then directors, then managers, and manager given the authority to operational person. So it's a line by line authority. That's why this organization structure is called as the line structure. It's a traditional method. It's a very rigid structure with the little information exchange and the typically of the bureaucratic companies in which there is a little collaboration. So nowadays it's unusual. Nowadays this type of line structure is not applicable, but in the past was the practical in the military, religious, and the even academic organization. They have to follow this type of line organizational structure. In this way, one area does not interfere with the work to the another group, and the staff only obey the orders whatever they have to given by the superior. Here in the CEO, whatever the we can say command given by the CEO, director have to follow, and whatever the we can say that command given by the director to manager, manager should follow it. They cannot create the interaction between them. They have to always follow the whatever the direction given by to them. Then after second is the line and staff. Then after this organizational line, after the line organization structure, second one is a functional organization structure. Functional organization structure is derived from the line structure. It's a difference that employees in the area need to report to all directors. In the last diagram, you can see that only director have to, only operational work personnel only report to their manager. They cannot report to the all the manager. But here in the functional department, they have to follow the all the departments head. Okay, so for the instant and the employee for the finance department may be called upon the HR human manager and handle the matter on this area. So the IT information technology manager may also same as so forth. So it's way to avoid the centralization and excessive specialization task in your area. Here you see in the finance manager always take the decision, not take the decision only for the finance department, but if he or she has a new power and new skill, then they also take the decision for the HR department, for the marketing department, and they should always take the decision for the all the department. Okay, so here it's a one type of we can say benefit for the organization to reduce the centralization and doing the best exercise and best specific manner you can take the decision. So whenever you have to draw the diagram, you can draw this diagram very carefully and very effectively. Today, this is the most used structure in the companies and organization. It's a functional organizational structure, but this doesn't mean that it is best one. Everything will depend on the relationship between the manager and especially on the appropriate use of IT aids is the internal communication. So we cannot say that functional organization structure is best for the organization because it's always based on the communication. If communication is not done very effectively, then you cannot take the right appropriate result. This organization structure is example is suitable for the small companies such as is a manufacturing, hotel, medium-sized car repair shops, medical clinics, and other types of business where the informal structure is allowed at that this functional control over the employees is without generating the conflict between the manager. So it's suitable for the small firm clinics. Okay. Then after third one is the line and staff structure. So it's a similar to the line structure, but here one extra we can say given that is a staff advice. So here staff is given the opinion and report and authorized to the support of the organization. So here one component is add here is a staff. So that's why this structure is called as the line and staff structure. Organizational structure is an example of this type is include the insurance company, then engineering firms, law firms, regulatory agency, etc. In the words, is an organization that needs to be isolated technical and the advice to assist the employees to be who handle or manage day-to-day operation in the front line. So here staff's role is to get given the advice, given the any if organization face any problem, then that's why they have to given advice, suggestion and expert knowledge to them so they can easily take the decision. Then after last one is the matrix organizational structure. So first one is a line, functional, line and staff and matrix. This structure is widely used by the company. This constantly launching a new product. If any firm is launching a new products in the marketing page, for this example they have to doing this type of organizational structure, that company that have to be a project based structure but also have to be a functional supervision is necessary, then they have to be doing the matrix structure, means here project A, project B, project C and project D. So here marketing management means team A is working here, right? So marketing manager also doing supervision on them and project manager also doing supervision on them. So it's always working on the matrix level, means here these persons are also and this person are also doing continuously supervision on them. So it's always doing the two authority, or we can say functional management also considering the line structure. So it's called as a matrix structure. So this four structure like line and staff, function and matrix, both we can say this fourth. Okay, these four are very important for your examination point of view. So you should learn it very thoroughly, and if you have any query regarding this you can ask me. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, and after watching this video lecture you should learn from your book, and if in your examination they have to ask regarding the line structure, then you should draw all the diagram very carefully and very neat and clean, and then after you should write the advantage disadvantage of them so you can achieve the good marks. Okay, thank you very much.